Molly and Tiffany are covering the Fiesta Bowl. Let's start with Molly, who is with Michigan.
Well, Reese, I'm here at Michigan's team hotel, and it's still dark outside, but you can see the silhouettes of giant men starting to walk around, and players tell me they can't sleep because they've been looking forward to this moment ever since last year's semifinal loss. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy told me that moment changed this team and ignited a fire that never existed before, and that fire was stoked last night. Before bed, the team watched a motivational video voiced by NFL Hall of Famer and Michigan national champion Steve Hutchinson, and that video began with images of the team walking off the field in defeat after the Orange Bowl. It then reminded them of their 4 goals for this season: beat Michigan State, beat Ohio State, win a Big Ten championship, and finally, win a national title. It then ended with a message saying the job is not finished. Now for more on TCU, here's Tiffany Blackmon.
Molly, it was lights out at 10 o'clock for the Horned Frogs last night, and in about an hour, they're going to get that wake-up call followed by breakfast. Their schedule, not any different than it has been all year long, and that's important for this team. Coach Sonny Dykes told us that 90% of his players have never been to a bowl game before, so there's been an emphasis on keeping things business as usual, not letting this game get any bigger than it already is. So the vibe at practice this week has been loose. The music has been blaring, some players even dancing. And in Friday's final practice, what they called a full-speed run-through, well, Coach Dykes told me that his guys looked fast, fresh, and Reese, he said he liked the mature approach they took to this week.
Hey, Tiffany, that wake-up call is key because the Horned Frogs have had this habit of getting behind. They've got 5 wins when trailing in the second half. Nobody in the country has more than that. We'll hear more from our reporters throughout the morning on this edition of College Game Day. That second half comeback makes you feel like that TCU, even if they get hit in the mouth early, is not going to feel as if they're out of it.
Yeah, I think they're a very resilient bunch. They've proven that. They have earned their opportunity to be in the college football playoff. And for me, the team they're playing against is just so fantastically old school. You know, they lose last year. Harbaugh's conversation around him, where's he going to go, what's he going to do? They restack, bring back that offensive line that wins the Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row, and they pound the rock. If you listen to anything Michigan's saying out of any of their press conferences, and we'll go J.J. McCarthy more specifically. J.J. McCarthy was asked, what do you see from that TCU defense? He said, well, if they're going to run that 3-3-5, Kirk, I see a lot of smashing. I see our team going old school power football. We're going to bring the Big Ten to the Big 12. That game's got a lot of big bodies and old school football. Cannot wait to watch it in Arizona.
Interesting to me, the psychological warfare. Yeah. You know, you have 2 heavy favorites that are trying to get their team to make sure they respect their opponent after 30 days of hearing how great you are, and you're too physical for TCU, and Georgia, you're too good and too fast. And so these coaches are trying to kind of put that to bed. What I think, Pat, you're talking about, I think TCU brings their own version of physicality. All this talk about Michigan, and you're right, they're from the Big Ten, and Jim Harbaugh is old school. But don't sleep on TCU and just think, oh, they're just a fast team. I've watched them all year. We've done a lot of their games. They're at the line of scrimmage, especially their offensive line, 6'5", 310 pounds. Their back, Kendre Miller gets downhill and lowers his shoulder pads, gets behind his pads. So I don't think it's a speed game in that particular game against the power of Michigan, in my opinion.
I agree with you, but the only problem I see with TCU is when they do get behind early. Now you're dealing with a Michigan team. This is a Big Ten team that they don't mind running the ball, bleeding the clock. See, when TCU played in the Big 12, they didn't have to worry about possessions because everybody played fast. So they were going to get multiple possessions. If they were down double digits, they didn't care. You get down double digits against Michigan, they will bleed the clock. We're talking about 12-play, 8-minute drives, and then they're limiting the possessions of TCU. That's the only thing that I will be worried about if I'm a Horned Frog. You can't get behind by many points against Michigan because they have no problem bleeding the clock, Coach.
Yeah. In my opinion, 2 key factors jump out when I studied Georgia and Ohio State. 1, Georgia leads the nation in red zone scoring and defense.
Wow.
And 2, Ohio State's first game in this stadium, whereas Georgia's played 2 games in the stadium against ranked teams and beat them 99-33.
Wow. Whoa, look at that. Look at that margin.
Michigan, and Ohio State. Ohio State has 2 chances in this game. None and none.
Oh, wow.
Not even
slim, huh?
None and none. Slim's out of the picture.
Slim is out of the equation. Wow.
We've got a ton more.
Come on, Coach.
You know how it works.
I know.
You know how it works.
This is early.
They didn't call him the Sunshine Scooter for nothing. He can
right.
change directions. This is not just straight line speed here.
He knows those guys are watching this, too.
Yeah. He's trying to fire him up a little bit.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.